Okay, let's deep dive. Let's talk about today's topic when we talk about why startup and entrepreneur fail. Okay, before we go into that, maybe let's actually give me a moment to actually introduce myself as well as my company, Blackstone Consulting. Okay, so I'm Shelby T. I'm the managing partner of Blackstone Consulting. Okay, so if you want to actually link me up, link me together in my LinkedIn profile, there is a QR code over there. Let me just share a little bit about my experience. I was from the marketing field, working in Sketches Singapore. Okay, for around 2 to 3 years before I went into event sponsorship. Where I work very closely with MNC like DBS as well as last time Uber, where they are in the Singapore market. Okay, after which I have actually entered into the consultancy world and become the head of operation in the venture. So my job scope or my responsibility in Blackstone Consulting, right, is about helping company to scale their business, okay, and focusing a lot about on the people aspect as well as the process, and also in terms of the market expansion in Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand market. Okay, so in Blackstone Consulting, right, we are a Singapore-based business skiller. Okay, we specialize in helping SME as well as startup to actually scale in the Southeast Asia country. Okay, so our mission is actually to become a trusted business skiller that actually provide a tailored kind of result-oriented business offering. That we are more hands-on as compared to others. Okay, so we want to actually set certain standard with our framework as well as our network to actually help our client to scale in Southeast Asia. We have offices in Singapore, Thailand, Taiwan, and we are looking at Hong Kong and Malaysia soon. Okay, let's go into the topic. When we talk about startup, right, I think all of us in this Zoom knows that the failure rate is very, very high. Okay, that is around 95% of startup will fail. And it is very critical or crucial in the first 18 months of it. Okay, and in this 18 months, right, there will be a lot of pivoting, a lot of changes in this 18 months, where we actually can see around 50 to 95% of startup will fail. Okay, so let us really understand a little bit, right? What is the reason behind why startup fail? Okay, so the very first reason, which is the most obvious reason, is because they ran out of cash. Okay, so we do know that money is a very limited kind of resources. Even for funded startup, we also see them as a very classic example that after which maybe 1 or 2 years the fund runs out. Okay, so what do we mean by that? What do we mean by run out of cash? Right, the main reason is because, right, technically, if you are not a funded startup, you did not manage with your limited funding or limited financial resources, right, to identify the market potential or the market product fit need. Okay, if you're a funded startup and you actually failed after 1 or 2 years, it may be because, right, you never use the fund actually accurately or even in a way that allowed you to scale and earn more money. So the very first top reason of why startup fail is because they ran out of cash. Okay, the second reason is also because there is no market need. A lot of time when we entrepreneur, when we enter into a business or into a venture, we thought that we are tackling certain problem that is faced by the market or the target audience. Okay, but in order for you to earn the first dollar into your venture, you have to reach out to them. Okay, convince them that you are the perfect solution for them. So a lot of time, no market needs, or maybe the market needs have actually shifted that you do not know that what you're offering is, it might not be what the market is looking for. Okay, this also needs entrepreneur this time, right, to actually always validate that their product offering is always what the market requires and wants. Okay, so the very third one is, of course, we talk about competition. Okay, so we do know that no matter what you do, there is always competition. Okay, sometimes it depends on what kind of competition are we referring to. Are they like from big corporates, okay, MNC, or are they just a very new kind of space in which most of them are your competitor, are your startup, like very high level kind of competitor, right? You have to think about how are you going to actually be so unique or become unique that the customer come to you but not to your competitor. Okay, so once you get your idea validated and you earn your first dollar, you have to actually look at it. Can you actually partner with your competitor or not? Or is your competitor someone that you have to actually take note of? Okay, sometimes competitor, right, can be your partners or it can be your investor down the road. So take note of your competitor and see how they actually craft up their pathway. And on to the fourth kind of factor, that means we talk about business model. Business model itself, it might be at the very start of your business or your venture, you actually get it, you knew it right. However, if you stick to one channels, right, and you don't actually diversify your risk or your even channels, right, your business model may be actually get not giving you that kind of profit margin down the road. So business model, once a startup actually scale out to a certain level, you have to actually look at other business model. Are you reaching out to another kind of tier? Are you going to make it more easier for people to actually look at what kind of business revenue are you coming in? What kind of target markets are you looking at? Okay. The last but not least reason that is really very important, or it is most of the time a startup fail, is because of you are not having the right team needs. Okay. So I think this is something that I want to actually share a little bit more. A lot of time as an entrepreneur or as the founders of the company, right? At the start of your venture, your skill set may be relevant for the business. Okay, you have the correct skill set to start from, maybe from 0 to 1. Okay, but when you get yourself funded or your business need to go to the next level of scaling, you have to ask yourself is, do you have that capacity to bring the company to the next level? What are the gaps in between? Whether is it your management, your founders team, or within the executive team? Okay, you have to actually look at, do we need to get external parties or expert to come on board to actually push our company to the next level? Okay, so actually reviewing all these 5 different elements is very important. Cash, market needs, your competition, your business model, and lastly, the people. Okay, so let's move on to a very famous case study that I think in the Southeast Asia context that usually people know. The first case study we are going to deep dive into is Honestbee. Okay, let's understand a little bit, right? How does Honestbee start? Okay, before Honestbee start, right, they actually started off with a company called Live. It started in 2012 all the way to 2014. Okay, this company technically is a Singapore company that actually talk about a job portal that provide an online process, right, for people to actually hire freelancer like part-timer, and also for part-timer to find freelancer kind of job. Okay, so this was co-founded by Joe. And Jonathan joined Isaac and Joe in August 2014 as the lead software engineer. Okay, so for this, right, before actually Jonathan joined this company, it was being known to him that they agreed that by end of 2014, if certain KPI are not met, they will most probably be actually winding down the company. Okay, so when they hit the end of 2014, they actually decided to wind out the company, but they know that there is certain asset they actually have, the infrastructure they built, as well as the database they actually have collected for the freelancer. Okay, so instead of just ended this venture, the three of the guys decided, okay, to actually open up a company called Honestbee. Okay, so Honestbee, I think most of the people over here might know what is Honestbee. Okay, Honestbee is actually online grocery and food delivery service at the very start, and eventually they actually go into other services and even restaurant habitat that we all know of. Okay, so this company is founded by the three boys, which is Joe, Isaac, and Jonathan. What they actually started off is they actually look at what kind of asset they have, okay, which is leveraging on the database to kickstart, okay, a freelancer shopper to actually do the grocery shopping for them. Okay, so we do know that they actually launched their first product or services, which is called the online grocery. And eventually, they actually have 5 different services under their arm, and they managed to enter into 8 different markets within a short period of time. Okay, so let us run through a little bit in terms of the timeline on that. Okay, so we will look at 4 main characteristics. The first one that we talk about will be when is the funding they actually collected. The second we will look at will be the founding team, okay, in these 5 years over here, right? What kind of role have they played? And the third part we talk about will be looking at when was the services launched, and lastly, the market expansion. Okay, so in the first year in 2015, right, they actually have an angel round of investment coming in a very undisclosed amount. And at the same year itself, October, right, they actually have a Series A funding from Formulation 8 of USD 15 million. Okay, so this 15 million, the use of fund is actually assist them to expand their operation in the Southeast Asia market, as well as some of the selected Asia. Okay, so we also see that there is another funding that is coming in 2018, the year 4, which is USD $31 million. Okay, so the 3 co-founders, right, they started it all with Joe as the CEO of the company, and Isaac as the head of product, and Jonathan as a CTO. Okay, but we along this 5-year time span, right, we do notice that Isaac actually have changed his position almost every year. Okay, in 2016, he became the VP of People and Special Project, which actually allowing him to actually look at the people component on HR hiring. Okay, followed by the 3rd year, which is 2017, focusing just on the special project itself. And we do know that at the end of year 4, December, Isaac have actually exited or resigned himself from Honestbee. Okay, and that is where the start of the trouble everybody know about it. In the 2019, we have Joe as a CEO step down, and Jonathan as a CTO also resigned in July itself. Okay, so something to highlight is, right, in 2019, in year 5 itself, right, the investor, which is actually Formulation 8, actually took over the management team, having someone, the whole team shifted from the CEO to COO to anybody. But I will not go so much in depth in terms of how they actually do it, but I want to actually highlight a little bit about their expansion plan. Okay, so in the product elements itself, right, the component, right, in July, they are just focusing on grocery services, which is very light kind of asset in which they actually make use, they actually work very closely with partners like Singapore NTUC, FairPrice, and all the other partners to actually have freelancer shopper, right, to actually doing all these things. After which, in 2016, year 2, right, they actually started the laundering services. Okay, 2017, they actually venture into the food delivery services, as well as in the N4 or Q4 is the ticketing services. Okay, and we do all know that in October 2018, they actually go into something that is very risky, which is they launched the Habitat itself. Okay, so now we actually move on to the market expansion plan. In year 1, because they are based in Singapore, they actually managed to enter to Hong Kong in actually October 2015. In year 2, they enter into Taiwan. And the most aggressive expansion happened in year 3 itself, in which in this chart, you will notice that they actually entered to 5 different countries, respectively Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, and Japan. Okay, so let us take a quick look, right? What really went wrong in this company or Honestbee itself? Okay, the very first, after actually what the boss actually stepped down and exited, and the investor actually took over, or even the restructuring team took over, there was a lot of news article that actually featured this case study. And we do also have very high profile interviews, actually interviewing Jonathan to talk about what really went wrong in the company. So we actually sum up three main points that causes Honestbee that failed. The very first one, right, is there is a lack of focus. Okay, what do I mean by that? When a startup, you get yourself funded, and you get yourself funded very quickly in the first year, you do not really know how to skill, but you do know that you have to skill and actually start hiring people. So when you start hiring people, right, when there is no enough process and check in between, everybody get lost and they do not know what to do. So that actually happened in Honestbee. Okay, they do not know what kind of initiative or even project they should focus on. Okay, somehow everything seems very important to them. At the same time, the management team do not know how to actually allocate the resources, human resources, or even support, or even capital that lead them to very unclear decision and direction not passed down to the execution team. And of course, of these two reasons, execution actually is very bad at their end. Okay, so what are the things that maybe when you are skilling your business, right? You know you have to skill. Okay, what are the things you should have in place before you actually start skilling? The very first one I think is we can look at the team. Let's take a step back. Is appoint someone or a key personnel, right, to make the final decision. I think when you are in a startup ecosystem or in a startup, everything is very fluid. And maybe the decision that you made 1 month ago might have expired or have outdated. But nevertheless, right, when you yourself as the management or entrepreneur, right, if you're good at making decision, okay, then you take the role and the responsibility to do it. Okay, if you are not, I think that is where you have to actually start thinking that, do I want to pass this responsibility to someone that I trust? Or should I actually have hire external parties to come in to assist me on this kind of key decision? Okay, but nevertheless, you have to appoint a key personnel to make that final decision. Okay, but having said that, right, making a final decision doesn't mean that you have to actually stick to it. Okay, so that is where I talk about the second part of it, in which you have to have a process, a review process in place. Okay, if you guys decided, oh, we should actually focus on this initiative because we see a huge potential in this aspect of the business, I think you have to actually have certain initial KPIs set up, okay, and actually invest resources to make sure that the project take place and I can kickstart. Okay. Lastly, the most important is to review the process. Do we hit the KPIs that we actually initially set up? Okay, if it's no, what is the reason behind it? Is it an external kind of factors, or is it internal problem that we are facing? Okay, when we actually have this process in place, right, it actually assists us, right, to actually go back to the very initial stage, that is this initiative worth investing? Okay, so this is something that have to take note of, because if you are a funded startup, right, you have capital, yes, but you have to take note that the capital is very limited. You only can actually make only a few round of mistake. Okay, and or I rather say you try to minimize the mistake that you're going to make. Okay, so have the people in place, make sure that you actually held the person responsible for making decision, okay, and actually also doing the execution, and have the process in place to in-check the person. Okay, so this is the very first reason that why I feel Honestbee, or usually sometimes the normal startup fail, that there is a lack of focus. The second reason that actually we actually notice, right, is when a business you get funded, you gain certain traction, you will start thinking that how can I actually earn more revenues? Okay, is it by reaching out to more target audience, or is it by launching new product offering, or is it just by entering into new market? Because in terms of skilling, right, we can skill in terms of people, target markets, okay? We can skill in terms of products. That means I launch more services, reaching out to the same target audience, or I can actually enter into a new country, okay, that may actually be facing or actually having the same target audience as my host country, okay? But when you reach certain scale, there is a need for entrepreneur to do consolidation, okay? So Honest Bee second issue is they have issue consolidating their businesses, their operation, okay? So we do know that Honest Bee actually started it off as a grocery, move on to laundry as well as food delivery, okay? And they, at the same time of all these services expansion, they also enter to 8 different countries, okay? So in terms of operation, right, okay, they are facing problem to consolidate the effort, okay? For instance, there is a lack of skill set to patch the gap in between the businesses processes or even between the areas or countries, okay? Let me just give you an example, okay? The drivers, okay? The people, okay? When the drivers actually started to actually provide services as a grocery, okay, they move on to become also deliver the laundry, okay? After that, they see that, hey, I have to actually have more responsibility and skill set. So Honest Bee team at the very start of that, of launching the second services, okay, they have problems convincing the drivers, okay, to do both and move on to actually food delivery, okay? But they do actually set certain SOP to tell the drivers that, you know, if you're doing grocery, laundry, and food delivery, there is certain things you have to take note, okay? It's not as simple as you collect it and you actually can go and pass it to the customer, okay? So they have problem consolidating in terms of that kind of operation, okay? But at the same time, right, we do know that these 3 different verticals, right, they have very different requirements, okay? So we do know that food delivery, usually breakfast, lunch, and dinner is the peak hour, okay? Whereas grocery and laundry, not really, we don't really have a peak hour, maybe season, like Christmas season is coming, maybe more people want to do groceries kind of delivery, okay? So drivers they have an issue to actually managing the drivers to actually embark on getting on board and actually to use all the services, okay? Not so picky like, oh, I want to do food delivery, but I don't want to do anything else, okay? So consolidation is an issue over here, okay? And last but not least, right, it is the financial issue, okay? Not so much about whether is there any misuse of fund, but most importantly, it is about the mindset of being funded startup. The fund raised, right, by Honest Bee is not so much as a very supportive kind of thing, but it is more on an obstacle for Honest Bee itself. Okay, so let me actually look at it. What do we mean by it is an obstacle? Okay, the very first one is priorities. The management or the team, right, have decided to put resources based on how is this going to make my company for the is going to perform, how my company is going to perform in the next round of fundraising. We do know that they started it off as groceries, moved on to laundry and food services. And at that moment of time, food services was one of the up and coming kind of verticals. And they decided to put a lot of resources in the food services service. Okay. And the reason of doing that is it's not so much a business decision, not like, oh, this have given me the highest profit margin, or this is something that is scalable for me. It's more of I want to hit certain numbers and certain KPIs that I can show to my investor next round that I want to raise X amount of dollars. Okay, so that is also one of the reasons that went wrong in Honest Bee. Okay, the second reason that we talk about is the approach to scaling up the businesses, the approach to expand the businesses. Okay, if you look at the timeline previously in my previous slide, we noticed that almost every year there is a new services going out. Okay, and almost every year they enter into a new market. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But the issue is there is a pattern in in what we actually monitor, that they keep on starting new thing. Okay, we start on with new business unit, okay, new offering, we go into a new market. Okay, so with the very strong financial backing that Honors B have, okay, they are very good at starting new initiative. Okay, there is no doubt that the three boys actually are very good at building something like from 0 to 1. Okay, however, what is lacking is they do not know how to shift from 1 to 100. Okay, they do not know how to actually harvest what they are looking at, what they actually building at. So they keep on, when they actually made an obstacles in certain offering or even certain market, they will look at, okay, let look at what other opportunity are there in the market that I can actually venture into. Okay, so from the offering itself, right, we have noticed that it has shifted from very light asset, okay, like grocery, that I don't really need to spend too much upfront capital, okay, to someone that's so heavy, like Habitat, the restaurant or the grocery online store they have, okay, the technology enabled store restaurant concept. Okay, so this also give them, with the financial backing they have, the approach to businesses, the approach to actually scale up has also shifted. Okay, the third one, which is very obvious, is because you have very good backing. Okay, you are not very conservative in terms of how you spend the money. Okay, you do not know that if I do not scale efficiently, what is going to happen to me? Because you do know that if I hit certain KPI, I can always go for the next round of fundraising and another round of fundraising. Okay, so I think Honest Bee itself, right, as a business or as itself, it is a very good case study for you to look at in terms of how they scale up. Okay, of course there is certain mistake made by a lot of businesses and entrepreneurs. I think hopefully at this over here, right, everybody can learn from their mistake, and I hope that the three boys actually can actually maybe in the next few years to become a better entrepreneur down the road. Okay, and with this, I have come to the end of my presentation for today's session.
All right, thank you so much, Shelby, for that presentation. It was very insightful. So now we will open the event to the floor. If you have any questions, we'll begin our Q&A session. So yeah, if anyone has questions, please ask away. All right, we've got our first question. So can a startup company get away from failing without the need for growth investing?
Definitely. Okay. To be very honest, right? In the past, like maybe 10 years ago, we do not really have in Asia context, we don't really have the startup. Okay, we don't really, a lot of entrepreneurs, they start out their venture, right, without actually investment coming in. So they actually maybe self-sustain themselves. That means they actually contribute the money going in. Okay, but however, whether do you have investment or you do not have investment, right, you definitely will fail. Okay, it's just a matter of how are you looking at it, because that will give you a different mindset. Okay, for instance, if you have $100 in your pocket today, definitely you will know that, oh, what can I do to grow this $100? Okay, however, if you have $10 in your pocket right now, you will think, okay, let me take it easily. Okay, because I might only have one chance to make it or break it. So I personally feel that a startup company, right, it's not a matter of whether you get funded or not get funded, whether you are funded startup or not funded startup, right, there is a possibility of failing too.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. That makes a lot of sense. All right, we have another question. What can you suggest for those entrepreneurs who keep on failing with whatever business idea they come up with?
Okay. Okay. As an entrepreneur ourselves, right? Even though let's talk another kind of on the flip side of things, right? If you are a successful entrepreneur and you might have started a business and you might have exited. That means you actually sold your businesses, right? But it might not actually give you the proof kind of concept that the next startup that you're going to actually venture is going to be successful. Okay, because when we are doing business, right, we have to take into consideration of the opportunity during that market, okay, as well as during that time, right, what kind of comparative advantage you have, okay, which is comparative advantage might change and shifted along the way, okay. So what can we suggest for entrepreneurs who keep on failing is the first advice or the first thing I would suggest is don't give up. Okay, because I think it's very difficult to actually rebound after you actually have a major failure. Okay, the second about yourself is to review, okay, what is your strength and weaknesses as an entrepreneur. Okay, why does your business fail? Is it an external factors or is it an internal factor? Okay, is it because you do not have the other good co-founder to actually fill up the gaps or the weakness that you have? Okay, that is 101 reason why a business fail. Sometimes it can be your own personal your decision, okay, or the way you actually spot opportunity. Sometimes it might be external factor. So I think understanding first why your business fail is the very first step that you're going to do. Okay, the second step is actually what can you learn from all the failed venture that you actually have go through before. How are you going to minimize, I would say, the failure rate if you're going to start a new one? Okay, are you going to because I think that is where you know how to manage people better, or you know how to actually capture a business opportunity, or something it may be because you are not fast enough, okay, to roll out your products or roll out your offering to the newspaper. Okay, the step is actually to review yourself firstly, secondly to identify what is going to make your business highly to become a little bit more successful on that.
Okay, thanks so much for that answer. All right, we have one last question from Nika. She's asking, what would you say is the measurement of failure for a startup, or how do we know when to stop?
Okay, what is the measure of sorry, can you repeat the question again?
The question is, what is the measurement of failure for a startup? How do we
Okay,
know? Yeah.
okay, I will have to say that everybody have different definition about what is failure. Obviously the most obvious answer is when your company cannot continue to run and you feel, or you need to actually liquidate your company, or you need to wind down your company. That is the most obvious answer. But the measure of failure, right, as an entrepreneur, right, it really varies. For instance, let me just give you an example. If I am a tech entrepreneur, okay, I am a CTO of the company, for instance, okay, my failure rate may be because I did not manage to actually launch a product on time, or I did not manage because of my, or because I do not manage to launch the product or technology on time. I missed the opportunity to become a pioneer in this verticals, for instance. Okay. However, if you're a business entrepreneur, or you are someone that say that I'm very good at certain initiative or certain marketing, for instance, right, then your failure, right, maybe because due to your verticals or expertise. Okay, so the measure of failure really depends on what you're looking at. If my plan is maybe end of next year, I want to enter to three different countries. Okay, you might only end up entering into one. Then you might think this as a failure. Okay, but nevertheless, right, I feel that the measure of failure really depends on individual. But nevertheless, look at what is really causing you not to reach that goal, and really think about it. How can you actually improve on that?
Thanks for the answer. I think that really ties in with the next question from Jaslyn, which is, she asks, what if it's your business partner that caused the failure of the venture? How should we navigate that?
Okay, if we're talking about business partner, right, I feel that it's not a matter of your business partner has caused the venture, it is 50-50 responsibility. Because if you're a business partner, you can actually prevent that failure. Okay, unless we are talking about the business partner that we're talking about, right, has higher shares, for instance, or whatever he say, right, will be the final decision maker. Okay, then that is something that is debatable on that. But I feel that if everybody have equal sharing or shareholdings, right, have equal saying, right, I think as a business partner, you know that your business partner is going the wrong way. I think it's also your responsibility to voice out that, hey, I think that how we actually run the business or how are we actually managing the people is not right. Should we review it? And have a common agreement. Sometimes you do not have to agree on, oh, we have to run this way, but you can voice out as a business partner.
All right, okay. We have one more question here. Society judges someone who failed, but they don't celebrate those who tried. So should we be too concerned about all this noise about a lot of like startups and businesses failing all the time?
Okay. I personally can relate to this question. It's just like it's a norm that, as I'm started in my first slide of this topic, we talk about 98% of the 95% of the startup will actually fail. So you have this kind of concept or this kind of belief that it's okay if my startup will fail. But I think that as an entrepreneur, you are not starting out to know that 3 years down the road your business will fail. Okay, so I think society judge someone who failed. To be honest, I think this sentence have shifted. Okay, we also celebrate new success, like for instance when company like Grab went through IPO, or even with the new the three boys Honestbee, they even technically they have failed Honestbee as a business and a venture, right? But you can see them being more vocal in the news itself, okay, to actually share their mistake that they made, or they feel that what I can actually make or improve if I can turn back the time to make Honestbee a better company. So I think that society itself, right, we are okay with failure, but the question will be, right, it's not about celebrating the failure or success. It's more about how, if you fail or if you have success, what is the takeaway that you have with you? Okay, that takeaway, how are you going to share this kind of experience with your fellow entrepreneur or even your junior, that, hey, next time I should not repeat your mistake, or next time I should take note of that I can have used this approach to actually venture into new market. So I think in the entrepreneur space itself, in the startup space itself, right, we are very into very sharing kind of methods and approach.
Okay, thanks for that. I hope that answered your question. Okay, we have one more question. When should we walk away? Because when we start our own business, we believe that it may not be all doom and gloom. So when should we know when to throw in the towel?
Okay, I would like to tackle this question in two approach. The very first approach is, right, if you start up a venture with your business partner, right, it can be a group of them. You have a common belief, you have a common passion when you start off. Okay, it's the same as business. It's the same as your life partner. Okay, at the start you might have the common denominator, whether is it in terms of knowledge, in terms of passion, or in terms of what you want to achieve. Okay, but along the way, people have different priorities. People have different kind of what they want and go. Okay, so if your business partners, right, values proposition have shifted, and you feel that this is not something that I want to build, or this is not what I want to instill in the company, then if this is against your value proposition, I think you have to actually let your business partner know that your discomfort, and then if you can't have a common ground on what is the issue that you are talking about, then I think you should be professional, okay, and wave goodbye and make sure that things end it well. Okay, this is my take. But we do also have another approach is, right, business is not doing well. Okay. The first part is actually about value proposition, the passion. The second is the business not doing well. Okay. If you start to scale your business and certain business unit, you feel that it's not doing well and the numbers will not tell lies to you. Okay. Your P&L, okay, your investment will not tell lies to you. Okay. You have to be very affirm that if I'm going to try it one more time, I'm going to invest that resources in. If it did not hit the KPI, I will be transparent to the entire team that we will have one more try. If not, we will have to say that I have to cut off this business unit or this market that I'm in. So I think transparency, communication is very important, regardless whether are you in the first scenario or the second scenario itself.
Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, I think this leads very well to the next question. So with all that being said, do you believe if anyone is born to be an entrepreneur, or do you think anyone can work towards being an entrepreneur?
I do not believe someone is being born to be an entrepreneur itself. Why do I say so? Is because entrepreneur, right? It is not like, okay, let me just share, let me just do a comparison. Okay, if you're in the science field, right, learning certain science knowledge, right, this kind of knowledge will not change. You will get yourself updated, okay, but it will not change overnight. But as an entrepreneur in the business world, right, especially I mean for business university student, right, what you learn in school, right, is really a fraction of it. Okay. And by the time you actually graduated in the business world, right, just a very good example, COVID-19. It may be what the success or the things that the effort or the sweat that you actually built during before COVID, it can wipe out entirely just because one COVID incident like that. Okay, so as an entrepreneur, right, it is not about whether am I born to be an entrepreneur, but it is certain skill set that I would say that you have to be in. For instance, like you have to keep on pivoting your business. You have to keep a lookout of what is the danger. You have to keep a lookout of what's the opportunity. Last time, the danger can become opportunity. The opportunity can become danger down the road. Okay, you have to keep on hustling. We always say that. Okay, so I feel that working, I think everybody can work towards being an entrepreneur. But what kind of entrepreneur do you want to be? Do you want to be seen as someone that is always hustling? Do you want to be seen as someone that always want to have a people in mind, kind of things? Okay, so I think that is different kind of entrepreneur we're talking about. I think anybody can work towards that, to being an entrepreneur itself.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, personally, I think with all that being said, being an entrepreneur is a lot of work. So do you think that it's possible for entrepreneurs to still maintain like a social life and a sort of work-life balance with if they want to succeed at a very high level? What do you think?
I think it's personal choice. Personally, I feel that way. Why is so is not saying that if you keep on working or keep on hustling, okay, you do not have work-life balance, right? You are a good entrepreneur. Okay. It also doesn't mean that you have a work-life balance, you are a bad entrepreneur yourself. I think sometimes it's actually up to individual. Maybe I need to have a work-life balance to get myself recharged, that I can think better, that I can make better decisions, that I can lead my people better. Okay. So it really depends on your individual. But if I think in today we talk a little bit about mental health, okay? And to be honest, COVID-19 have really blurred the line about working from home sometime and all these things. So I think it is not about I need to keep on working. No, I have not work-life balance. I am a very good entrepreneur. It really up to individual choices. You can choose to have a work-life balance. You can choose not to have a work-life balance too.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. So okay, then in that case, what do you think of like personal fulfillment? Do you think that an entrepreneur should continue working and trying to push his business if like let's say halfway through he feels like this is not what he actually wants to do for the long term? What do you think he should do in that case? Or she?
I personally feel that when you start out as an entrepreneur, right, you have to be very firm. What do you want to achieve? Okay. To be very honest, sometimes not all entrepreneur wants to, scale my business to a certain level and sell it away. Okay, this can be one of the success factor that a lot of people are looking at. Sometimes entrepreneurs are looking at, I want to nurture the next level of leaders. I want to help out, for instance, like women, that is less fortunate people. Okay, so it really depends on what you're looking at. Okay, so for instance, for myself, right, I'm looking at as an entrepreneur to have more control on things that I think I can empower people. Okay, as compared to being an employee, for instance. Okay, for employee, I have to actually listen to my manager, you see, but as an entrepreneur, I have control in terms of what I want to do. I have control in terms of what I want to learn. I have control on how I want the business or how I want things to actually turn out to be. Okay, I want to have control on how to empower people, for instance, in my company. Okay, so it is already about what are we looking at as an entrepreneur. Okay, not all entrepreneurs are very, very, I would say, dollar driven. Okay, some of them are not that dollar driven. They are looking at making an impact to the society, for instance, or making impact to actually our environmental issue, or the problem are facing in the society right now.
Yeah, thanks for that. Now we have a question from the floor, which is, who is your biggest influence in starting your own business?
Who is my biggest influencer? Okay, this is quite a personal thing. I think it's about empowering people. Okay, it doesn't matter, are you a product company? It doesn't matter, are you a service company? Okay, it's about, for instance, when I started as Blackstorm, right, our whole initiative is to tap on what we know in Southeast Asia and empower the business owner and the entrepreneur, right, to know how to lead their teammates or how to lead their people, right, to push the company to the next level. Okay, so if you're a fashion related company, right, you maybe are doing certain like clothing to empower your customer to feel good. So I think as an entrepreneur, it is not matter of what you're offering, but it is about making this society or making this world a little bit better, a little bit more confident, a little bit more knowledgeable in terms of how they can make decisions.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. I think that brings me to a question I think a lot of us have been wondering about, which is, for entrepreneurs, do you think they will need a degree to become an entrepreneur? And what are the cases that a degree can start to help?
Okay, well, this is a very tough question. It can be a yes or no answer. Okay. Why do I say so is I actually have met a lot of entrepreneurs that do not have a degree. Okay. Why so? Because to be honest, right? Okay, we don't talk about engineering. We don't talk about coding. Okay, that I think you need to learn. Okay, those skills that I think you need to learn. But as a business entrepreneur, right? Not looking at those like coding or this thing or the tech kind of thing, right? You need to keep on learning. Okay, so I don't think that having a degree is like a prerequisite to actually become an entrepreneur. I saw a lot of entrepreneur that does not have degree, and that doesn't make them any less than someone that has a degree itself. Actually, to be honest, especially in the education, right, when we know more, it become an obstacle for us sometimes. We tend to be not that creative in terms of how we can solve the problem as compared to someone that, oh, I have an issue, so basically I need to solve that. Okay, but nevertheless, right, having like professional kind of education, whether is it degree, it can help you to make sense better. Okay, it can help you to know that, hey, you know what are the next step, how should I structure this thing. Okay, what are the things I should take note of, what are the possible danger or even opportunity out there for me. We do have one question by Charles
Sure.
that talk about, is it possible to study the success of Secret Lab in the next round study? Sure. Secret Lab is actually quite an interesting company in terms of the product, and we see a lot of other I wouldn't say competitor, but other that is similar company that is actually striving in the ecosystem itself, leveraging on the work from home as well as the gaming space. So I can take note on that, Charles. Thanks.
So with that, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.